Have you noticed how the world requires explanations all the time? As if you should justify your decisions, your dreams, even your falls? It's like everyone with a magnifying glass, waiting for the moment you stumble, just to say I warned. The truth is that many don't want to understand, they want to judge you. And that's where the secret is: you don't have to answer. You need to show. Stop trying to convince who doesn't respect you. Let the results speak. The greatest hits of your life will not come from the words you say, but the strength you demonstrate in silence when no one is looking. When you choose not to react to the attack and focus on growing, you change the game. This is an invitation to transformation. Not from the outside, but from the inside out. Here, let's talk about pain, overcoming, purpose, inner strength and destination. Let's talk about you. On your silent journey of reconstruction, about the battles no one sees, but they are shaping you to something much bigger than they expect. So if you have tired of explaining, breathe deep. Silence is the world out there. And come with me. Because from now on, your strength will speak for you. Emotional pain is not just a memory. It settles like a constant echo in the mind, repeating scenes, words and moments that you would like to forget. You relive every detail of failure, as if there was a cruel need to understand where exactly everything went wrong. But no, this is not weakness, it is your brain trying to find meaning in chaos. The problem is that this mental repetition becomes a trap. You begin to believe that this mistake defines you, that failure is your last name. And it is not. Pain has a function, it screams for change. But if you keep just listening, without reacting, you will sink into self-sabotage. There is a way out, and it starts with self-knowledge. Identifying what pain is trying to teach you is the first step in breaking the cycle. Take a notebook and write what hurts you most about that moment. Not to revive, but to understand. You cannot transform what pretends that it does not exist. Remember, the great winners have already cried in silence. They also spent nights rolling scenes on their heads. But at some point, they decided that this pain would not be an end point, it would be the starting point. And you can decide this right now. Criticism comes when you least expect it, and almost always from those who least build it. People love to point their finger when you fall, but few extend your hand to get up. They call you weak, too dreamer, say you won't make it. And if you don't watch your mindset, you end up believing in them. But here's a truth that no one tells you: most judge what they are afraid to do. His flaws bother those who never had the courage to try. So when you say you don't fit, remember you are revealing more about them than about you. Do not absorb everything you hear, filter, discard and follow. Want a practical example? Whenever you receive a criticism, ask yourself, does this person live what I want to live? If the answer is no, why are you giving so much weight to her opinion? It is not arrogance, it is focus. You owe nothing to those who cheer against your evolution. Your commitment is to your purpose. The only voice that must guide you is that of your inner strength. External judgment only has power if you give space. And when you stop living for the approval of others, a new kind of freedom is born, the type it transforms. So, instead of explaining yourself, you act. And no one can judge the action that bears fruit. In each fall, you get an invisible invitation: you yield now or react with everything. It is in this crossroads that many give up and few wake up. The pain comes to test you, not to paralyze you. The world observes you waiting for your withdrawal. And precisely for this reason, reacting becomes a form of resistance. When you decide to show that they were wrong, a force is born that does not depend on applause. You start to act in silence, but firmly. Each step becomes an answer. And it's not about revenge, it's about overcoming. The best rematch is to build a version of itself that no one expected. Take this example: if someone said you couldn't start your business, focus on studying, setting up a plan, cutting spending, and starting small. Do not spend time trying to prove with words, prove with progress. Nothing shuts up the judgment better than consistent results. In the end, surrendering seems easier, but it is the reaction that takes you to the next level. Reacting is not impulse, it is positioning. It doesn't have to be explosive, just be constant. Choose to lift your head and follow even wounded. Those who continue, even broken inside, are already winning. You no longer need to explain your plans to those who are not ready to understand. Speaking too much consumes energy, creates expectations, and puts you in the defensive. The more you talk, the more space gives criticism, doubts, and advice you never asked for. The true focus lives in silence. Make it happen. While others are debating what they are going to do, you may be running in silence. One step a day is better than 1,000 justifications. The action has the power to silence any argument. And when the results appear, there will be nothing more to be said. Want a practical example? If you are training to change your body, stop warning you will start. Just go to train. Eat better. Drink water. Read about healthy habits. Do it first, speak later if you want. People respect less promises and more transformations. Speak less of your plans and more of your principles. Your attitudes show what you value. Let the weather reveal what you are building. Silence may seem uncomfortable at first, but it protects you, focuses, and strengthens your determination. Who acts, reaps. Not every smile is support. Not every presence is loyalty. Sometimes who hugs you most is the one who wants to see you most. It is hard to accept, but necessary. Some are only around to have access to what you plan and sabotage in silence. Therefore, learn how to store your plans until they come true. Avoid sharing your dreams with those who don't dream about you. Excessive enthusiasm can become the envy of others. And betrayal is almost always born of poorly placed confidence. Protect your ideas as a seed only expose when you have strong enough roots to resist any storm. Want a practical exercise? Before you tell something important, ask yourself, does this person already cheer for me before, even when I had nothing to offer? If the answer is no, hold your tongue. The energy of construction requires silence, focus, and discernment. To talk too much is to open doors for sabotage. Your mission does not need an audience. It needs consistency. And believe me, the most powerful plans are grown in anonymity. When you learn to walk silent, you save energy, avoid distractions, and shields yourself with attacks. What is sacred is not exposed honor. Failing it hurts, but it also reveals. It is there, on the floor, that you find out who you really are. The error does not define you, it refines you. But many people cling to the fall as if it were a stamp of incompetence. And it is not. Failure is just a chapter, not the title of its history. Imagine if Thomas Edison had given up on the 100th attempt. He would have just been one more frustrated. But he tried 1,000 times. 1,000. Because I understood that each failure was a step towards the hit. The error only wins when you turn it into identity. Until then, it is just part of the process. If you failed, great. It means you had the courage to try. Now breathe, learn, and adjust the route. Take a notebook, write what went wrong, what you can do differently, and already put a plan into practice. No matter how many times it has fallen, what counts is how many times you will get up. You are not what went wrong. You are the one who decides to try again. Resilience is not born of immediate success, but from persistence in the midst of frustration. While others label you through the past, you choose to grow. And it is this choice that in the end transforms you into someone unstoppable. There comes a time when the pain needs to become fuel. And that moment is now. There is a force within you that has not yet been fully activated. Hunger for change, justice, victory. But it only wakes up when you stop sparing and start fighting everything you have. This force is not born of comfort, it is born of the decision. Decision to stop waiting for the right moment, to stop being a spectator of life itself. It doesn't matter if you're tired, if you tried before and failed. Raise. Face the mirror, take a deep breath and say, I haven't come here to stop now. Want to activate this hunger in practice? Start the day with a ritual that reminds you who you want to become. It can be a heavy workout, a powerful reading like The Power of Action, or a sincere prayer. The important thing is to start with intensity. Because those who start hard, keep the focus. You do not need eternal motivation. You need discipline to continue even on days when everything seems against. Its mission requires requires tenacity. You can't win with warm will. When you activate your inner strength, the whole world feels the impact of your presence. Not every provocation deserves response. Sometimes the best reaction is to follow silent, with your head held high. Scream, counter, taste your point. All this sucks your energy and gets you out of the focus. The mission is too big to be interrupted by small conflicts. Choose your battles wisely. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to defend yourself all the time. But as you try to convince others, you get away from your goals. Have you noticed how true winners speak little and do a lot? They do not spend time on useless fights they are busy building. If someone criticizes you, provokes you, or tries to slow you up, breathe. Look with compassion and think, this person is reacting to his own frustration, not me. Use the time you would spend on a discussion to improve something in yourself. Reading a chapter of The Subtle Art of Connecting already helps more than hitting. Protecting your peace is a form of self-care. Your strength is not to prove who you are, but to remain moving even when they try to distract you. Do not fall in order to fit in small conversations. Keep your eyes on purpose and your heart firmly on the mission. Not always doing everything right ensures the result you expect. Sometimes you deliver yourself completely, give your best, and yet it doesn't work. And do you know what that means? That you are human. It is not a lack of value, it is part of the process. Failure also happens to those who are on the right track. This is one of the most difficult truths to swallow. Effort is not always recognized immediately. But he is never in vain. You are building resistance, maturity, experience. Each attempt fails as an extra brick in the foundation of its strength. The harvest may be delayed, but it comes. A clear example of this? How many people do you know who have tried contests, selection processes, or projects several times before you get it right? They were not wrong, they were being prepared. When the result does not come, it is often the destination saying, it's not time yet. But it will be. So do not blame yourself for not yet winning. Recognize your delivery, value your persistence. You did not fail to try, would fail if you stopped. Inner faith is this: continue even without guarantees. And when you understand that, defeat is no longer ending and becomes part of the cut. Not every effort is worth it. Sometimes you are investing energy in something that doesn't take you forward. This exhausts, frustrates, and makes you question your own value. But the truth is that perhaps the problem is not its strength, but where it is being applied. Directing badly is as dangerous as not acting. It's time to stop and reflect what is draining your energy without return. It can be a toxic relationship, a purposeless project, or even a habit that weakens you every day. Doing this analysis is not a waste of time, it is an act of self-care and emotional intelligence. Here's a practical tip: list everything you have been dedicated to the last 30 days. Now, evaluate what is in line with your purpose. What is bringing you closer to your mission? What is just keeping you busy? Cutting what sucks and focus on what adds is an act of discipline and positioning. You have a giant inner force. But if she is directed to the wrong place, she becomes wear. The key is balance, working hard, yes, but in the right direction. Putting your energy into something that makes sense transforms not only the results, but who you are becoming in the process. It all starts in the mind. What you believe about yourself shapes what you allow, what you face, and how far you can go. If your mindset is sabotaging your steps, you can have the best plans in the world and still stand still. The thought is the engine of action or blockade. There are people who plan for weeks, write goals, assemble mental maps, and don't leave the place. Why? Because fear waged, doubt grew, and self-confidence has disappeared. It's like wanting to drive a car with handbrake pulled. The wrong mindset holds you into an invisible cycle of frustration. Want to change that? Feed your mind with what strengthens you. Read books like Carol Dweck's Mindset, watch content that expands your vision, exchange ideas with those who vibrate at another frequency. The mind needs to be trained as a muscle, and she responds quickly when you take care of it with constancy. Remember, the hardest battle is not against others, it is against yourself. If your mind is your ally, you cross any desert. But if it is your enemy, until victory will seem unreachable. So take care of your thoughts. They are building or destroying their way. You have already fallen, you have tasted the bitter taste of defeat, but it's still breathing. And that is enough to start over. Raising your head is more than a physical act, it's a mental positioning. It's saying to the world, and to yourself, I'm still here. And I won't stop. Starting is not a shame, it is courage. Many expect to feel ready to get back to the game. But what if I told you that the readiness comes in the movement? You don't have to be 100 integer, just need to take the first step. Over time, the force comes back. The mood comes back. The clarity comes back. But none of this happens if you stay still. A real example: injured athletes do not expect pain to completely disappear. They do physical therapy, small movements, adjustments. And gradually they recover the rhythm. Life works the same way. Decrease the rhythm, but don't stop. Advance slowly is still advanced. The world may have told its story as closed, but it is you, the one who writes the end. The pain may mark you, but it doesn't define you. Get up. Look forward. Return to the game. Because while you are standing, even if inside is broken, there is still a chance of victory. The opinion of others is noisy, but the results are silent and accurate. While people speak, you may be building. In the end, what convinces are not arguments, they are fruits. And those who deliver results do not need to raise their voice. He just shows. And that shuts any criticism. You will never please everyone, so why spend energy trying? The critique of those who do not build anything should not affect you. You are not here to be understood by everyone, but to be faithful to your mission. And mission accomplished generates respect, even in silence. Quick practice: every time someone criticizes you, stop and think, does it change my results? If you don't change, follow. Those who can waste no time arguing with those who did not plan. Dedication, persistence, and daily execution are the only arguments that really make sense. In the end, it's not about what you think of you, it's about what you are doing with your life. The best answer to doubts and judgments is the constancy. Continue. Do. Improve. Evolve. Because when the results appear, even those who doubted you start to respect you. Hoping understanding all the details before acting is one of the greatest enemies of progress. The truth is that the how reveals itself on the way. Start with what you have, with what you know, the way you give. The action creates clarity. Stopped, you only accumulate doubts. In motion, you gain vision. A lot of people crash because they want the perfect plan. But perfect plans only exist on paper. Real life requires imperfect courage. You don't have to see the full way, just the next step. And this step, however small, can completely change the direction of your life. Practical example. Want to start undertaking, but don't know how? Search, choose a product, create a simple profile, start selling to acquaintances. Do not wait for the ideal scenario. Start. Improve over time. It is better an imperfect version in motion than an amazing idea shelved. The universe rewards those who have inner faith and dare to leave the comfort zone. When you move, doors open, people come up, ideas flow. But all this starts with a simple decision to act. You don't have to know everything. You just need to be willing not to stop. Stop waiting for the ideal scenario, recognition, or that perfect Monday to start the change. Transformation begins when you decide to act like the person you want to become today. Want to be disciplined? Start by tidying up the bed. Want to be a leader? Start leading yourself. It's not about pretending, it's about aligning attitudes with your purpose. Even if you have not yet achieved what you want, you can act as someone who deserves it. This posture changes your energy, your mindset, and attracts opportunities that would not arise if you were inert. Do the following exercise. Think about who you want to be in 5 years. Now write which attitudes this version of you would have. Then implement one of them still today. It can be waking up earlier, walking, saying no to something that is late. The difference between now and ideal is in execution. The future version of you already exists and you are expecting you to reach through daily choices. This is not a hurry, but intention. Each small act aligned with whom you want to be strengthening your position and accelerates your transformation. Be today what you dream of living tomorrow. Every real advance begins outside the comfort zone. Growing up is almost always uncomfortable. It is waking up earlier, saying no to distractions, facing criticism, dealing with doubt. If it hurts, it may be because you are exactly where you need to be in the middle of the process of evolution. People want different results by keeping the same comfortable routine. But too much comfort accommodates, gets dressed, falls asleep the soul. True growth requires effort, it requires sacrifice. You need to learn to embrace discomfort as part of the path, not as a sign of failure. Want a practical example? If you avoid difficult conversations, start facing one of them. If the training is light, increase the load. If your content on the networks is not challenging you, climb the level. All healthy discomfort generates strength. All well-administered pain becomes a solid base. So the next time you think about giving up because it's too hard, remember it's hard because you're leaving the shell. It is uncomfortable because you are growing up. And no one turns into the same environment that fell ill. The discomfort, when well used, is liberating. Fear will always exist. But he doesn't have to dominate you. It only gets power when you retreat. And you didn't come here to be hostage to what scares you. You came to face, grow, break limits. It is exactly at this point between the fear and the action that its evolution happens. The secret is not to eliminate fear but learn to act even with it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is a decision. It is looking at that to paralyze you and say, "You won't stop me." And the more you face, the more you realize that it was just an obstacle of paper, inflated by your mind. Here is a direct practice. Write a list of your 3 biggest fears today. Choose one and take a step to face it. If you are fear of exposure, I recorded a video. If you are fear of rejection, start a conversation you have avoided. Even small action already weakens the strength of fear. You have within you a force that has not yet been completely accessed. She is behind the fear wall. And when you cross this barrier, not only grow you break free. Because the true evolution doesn't happen when everything is calm, but when you decide to advance despite the chaos. Sometimes what prevents you from moving on is not the problem, it is the expectation that it will go wrong. When you start a project waiting for failure, your body, your mind, and your actions follow this vibration. And the result? You sabotage without realizing it. Negative expectation is self-sabotage disguised as realism. It is not about ignoring the risks, but not to feed defeats even before the battle. If you wake up every day waiting for the worst, you will hardly see the opportunities. Your mindset needs to be trained to design possibilities, not limitations. Thought also builds reality. Practical experiment for a week. Replace every "will go wrong" phrase with "how can I make it work?" It changes your focus. Instead of preparing for the worst, you start to position yourself to create the best. Inner faith begins in what you believe before you act. Life is already challenging enough. No longer complicate with a destructive internal dialogue. Trust is not arrogance, it is foundation. Expect the best, you prepare you to fight with more claw. And even if you don't go out as expected, your mental stance will be half of the victory. The winner has no time to watch the lives of others. He is too busy adjusting his flaws, raising his discipline, and building the next step. While some compete for attention, those who really want to win are competed with yesterday's own version. The focus is on inside, not out. Constant comparisons are energy thieves. Looking too much for someone else's progress distracts you from your mission. You start walking at the rhythm of others and loses your own journey. And remember, your purpose is unique. If you try to copy, you will disconnect from what makes you authentic. Here is a practice every day. Write down 3 things you did best than yesterday. It can be small, it doesn't matter. This reinforces the focus on their growth, not the race of others. True victory is not about overcoming anyone, it is about overcoming yourself. With constancy and purpose, while the distracted comment, the certain build. And when the victory arrives, those who focused on itself is not even surprised, because he knows how much silent. Then take a deep breath, recover your vision, and turn your eyes inside. Maybe where you want to go. Don't get distracted by the noise of the road. Taking care of you is not luxury, it is a need. If you live donating everyone and leaves yourself last, 1 hour the account arrives, and it comes in the form of tiredness, frustration, loss of identity. Prioritizing yourself is recognizing that you also matter, that your well-being is part of the mission. People confuse balance with selfishness, but they are quite different things. Selfishness is thinking only of yourself. Balance is understanding that if you are bad, all around you fall as well. You can't do your best to others if it's empty. Therefore, putting yourself as a priority is an act of wisdom. Simple practice. Start by saying no more often. Not for what steals your time, your energy, and your peace. Use this space for things that recharge your soul. A good book, a deserved rest, a conversation that elevates you. This is not an escape, it is maintenance of what sustains you. Who does not take care of themselves, get lost. Who does not hear, silenced, and who annuls themselves. 1 hour charges dear to others. Don't expect a break to rebuild yourself. Balance comes when you understand that it is part of the mission to take care of yourself. Self-care is the fuel of those who go far. While you are neutral, everyone accepts you. But just position yourself, show who is real, say what you think, and defend your mission. The applause diminishes, and it's okay. Because positioning scares those who live in indecision. When you get up firmly, It reveals the insecurity of many. You will notice that those who once set in with you starts to retreat. Why? Because their evolution shows what they could be but they chose not to be. Do not expect approval of those who have not yet found their own purpose. Not everyone will understand their journey. And that's not your problem. A practical example: when you change habits, start training, studying, talking less, and acting more, the first to complain are the ones who are still in the same. Their transformation challenges their self-indulgence. But that should not make you back. That should make you even more clarity about who you are. The world doesn't need more people pleasing everyone. You need people who know where they are and where they go. Positioning bothers, but also inspires. Stay firm, with authenticity and inner faith. Who is real light does not lower the shine to make others comfortable. Every time you say yes wanting to say no, a piece of yours shuts up. And this silence accumulates. It becomes weight in the chest. Frustration contained, feeling of living a life that is not yours. Watering to maintain peace with others is a warfish war against oneself. At first it looks noble. You want to help, please, be accepted. But over time, he realizes that he is always tired, exhausted, empty. This is not virtue, it is imbalance. And the emotional price is high anxiety, guilt, constant feeling of insufficiency. And the spiritual, distancing from its essence. Consciousness exercise. Stop and reflect. Where have you been annulled? In what relationships, decisions, routines? Then set a limit. Simple, straightforward. It may be to say I can't, or this is not aligned with me now. Start small, but start. Its value depends on it. You have a mission, and it requires presence, courage, and truth. If you keep ignoring your own needs, you will get sick inside. Enough of hiding to maintain fragile connections. You were not called to please, you were called to impact. And for that, it needs to be whole. Everyone has a ready list of apology. Lack of time, money, support. But the truth is simple and straightforward: either you move, or watch life pass. The excuse protects your ego, but destroys your destiny. Already the attitude requires effort, but builds legacy. Choose which one you want to feed. The difference between who makes and who complains is not in luck, it is in posture. Who has attitude acts even without knowing everything, even with fear, even tired. Anyone who lives apologizing always finds a but halfway. And this but is what separates the dreamers from the directors. Direct example: instead of saying I don't have time to train, say I'm not prioritizing it. Do you notice the difference? The first sentence takes off your responsibility. The second confronts you. And it is this confrontation that generates change. Assuming is the first step to transform. You don't have to be perfect, but it needs to be compromised. No more hiding behind beautiful justifications. Life changes when you change. You can't from going to find a way. And that is attitude. Those who have inner faith do not expect ideal conditions. He creates movement with what he has in his hands. You can talk beautiful, inspire speech, impress with plans, but none of this is worth more than what you deliver. Result is undeniable argument. He does not need subtitles, defense, or explanation. He is seen, meaning, respected. Who makes it happen? Shut up the critics. People even doubt their ideas, but they can't ignore their fruits. Therefore, change promises for practice. Exchange projections for execution. While some are debating, you may be harvesting. The world does not reward intentions, rewards achievements. Hey, race a simple challenge. Take one of your goals and set a little concrete delivery for this week. That can be to finish a project, publish something, close a sale, complete a course. Anything you can show, not only talk. This reinforces your trust and credibility. You don't have to convince anyone, you just need to build. And when the result appears, even those who discredited themselves shut up. So, take a deep breath, lower the volume of words and increase the pace of action, because in the end, it is what you do that defines who you are. Now that you have come here, tell me, what are you going to do with all this? Will you just get inspired for a few minutes, or will you apply, transform, and break it for real? The change does not start with motivation, begins with decision. And the decision to act will always be worth more than any beautiful speech. What are you going to choose to feed today? The excuse or the discipline, fear or action? the silence of those who discredit, or the inner strength of who knows that it was born for more. Reflect with seriousness, because the next phase of your life will not be activated with intention but with execution. If this content made sense to you, if you woke you up, confronted you, or encouraged you, then it's time to take the next step. Subscribe to the channel, enable notifications, and stay around, because here you will not hear just words, you will find direction to live what was born to be. You don't have to answer anyone. No need to explain. Just show your strength.